Warning, some viewers may find this content disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back, my creatures of the night. Yes, to another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on Star Fox Radio. We are again heading down to the infamous Dogman Triangle. Seems like we've been spending a ton of time down here lately, which means we still have work to do. Yet, I am very thirsty, so I need to get a beverage. Much better. It was a little messier than preferred, but it's okay. When I come back later, I will clean it up then. Yet, without further ado, we need to go help out Jesus, a friend of mine in the North American Dogman Project. We will see you on the other side of the darkness.
It was November of 2014, and at the time I was working at a meat processing plant. I was working night shift. It was from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. I would set my alarm for 7 p.m. And every day that I'd wake up with my alarm, soon thereafter, you'd hear a pack of dogs south of town. And if you do any coon hunting or any hunting with dogs here in Texas, chase hogs with dogs. So I'm familiar with the barks. And so I would hear these pack of dogs south of town, and I would visualize them being at this park south of town. For it being so repetitive, I asked that question. I wonder what's going on or what it is, because it's literally like clockwork. And so I'm a caulker. I'm a caulker at heart, dude. I have game birds, angry birds. So I keep my roosters, and the keeper of mine lives west of town. And if it's a drive, it'd probably be like a 25-minute drive to the roosters. And it had snowed this day, and this dude's like an actual cowboy. He rides a horse and he drives cattle at a feed yard, you know, every day. Like, and he lives out in the boondocks. I mean, this dude's an actual like rough ass dude. He's pretty savvy about like animals and prints and tracking shit down. I mean, this dude's a legit outdoorsman. He calls me one day and he's like, dude, you gotta come check this out. And I knew it wasn't good by his tonality. I knew something was up. So I made the drive over there, and when I showed up, he's like, dude, some of your birds are missing or torn up or both. They're in pieces. And man, I took that extremely personal. I have some pretty nice birds. I have Johnny Jumper radios. I have Clement Kelsos. Dude, I love my birds, man. And the monetary damage this creature had done is probably in the couple of thousands worth of birds. And it was just like 4 birds, but man, they're good birds, man. And so he's like, hey, come here, check this out. Like, dude, I never seen a footprint like this. Like, have you? And we just sit there looking at this print and just scratching our heads, dude. It's unlike anything I've ever seen, like, ever in my life. We're sitting there scratching our heads looking at this print, and we just we can't come to no conclusions on anything. And we just like, we'll just take the loss, man. And like, not too many days after that, my cousin calls me, and he just lives in the same vicinity out in the country as Cowboy does. And he calls and he's like, dude, you gotta come check this out, man. Something's been my livestock. He has Dorper sheep, those meat sheep that have a black head, and he has meat goats, the red-headed goats. They're also for meat. And he has chickens and geese, but his chickens are those there's those chickens that the farm chickens, dude. They're used for meat and eggs too. His animals look like somebody took a pickaxe and just like started whooping on them. They just look mangled and battered, and they're in bad shape. And I couldn't conclude anything of what had done this. At that time, I wasn't even putting two and two together. I just thought about those dogs again, barking, and this stuff going on. And I'm like, because this was on the total opposite side of town. But the way I envisioned these dogs as they barked, their bark would start in the south of town, and then it would run east. It'd make like half a circle, and then the barks would disappear. And that was an incongruent parallel with the river bottom that runs across. And so I like, this light bulb just come up on my head, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna ask on this buy, sell, and trade page on Facebook, like, if anybody has seen or heard anything abnormal, strange, unknown, whatever, just private message me. And I was actually surprised of how many people like reached out not even within an hour. I had people like, it reach out, and there was a couple that lives just south of that park where that creek runs through. There's a golf course, frisbee golf. It's a pretty big park. It's probably like 5 square miles. Private messaged me, and they state, we were on our balcony at these apartments one evening where we seen a dog walking on 2 legs, and it was running around after a pack of dogs. Like, it was harassing these dogs, or like you know when like you play freeze tag or hide and seek and somebody catches you, but you're trying to make it to base before they tag you, like freeze tag. Like, they was running around a car. Like, this thing was just either playing with them or harassing them, or both. But these people sat up on the top balcony just looking at this thing like, what the hell is this? They didn't know what it was, but it was just south of that park where I pictured these dogs were when my alarm went off. And then just east of that, where I pictured the dogs run with their barks and then they would disappear, this lady, she stated that she was in the morning going out to the chicken coop to collect eggs for breakfast, just nonchalantly, not thinking about anything, just a basket in hand, and just on the way to the chicken coop. She may have been looking down, because she said when she looked up, there was this, she described it as a black lion creature. So it was just jet black. And she described it as a lion with wings, because she said when like it was eating eggs, like it was there just eating eggs with its back to her, and she had her head down, and they both looked up simultaneously at each other, and it may have been about 20-30 yards away, but she said that when it noticed her and they noticed each other, that it just jumped over the chicken coop and like took off. And she's like, man, it had wings, because I never seen anything just clear jump that high and that quick. Man, I don't know what it was. Then another lady was on I-40 going to the city for groceries, Costco or Sam's, and this was at night, and she'd come back at night, and she's driving one of the big F-250 trucks with the grill guard, just like everybody does in Texas. And she collided with this. She said, man, I ran over a monkey. Like, I ran over a monkey, just straight ran a monkey over. And I was so shook that, like, did something escape from a zoo or a gorilla, or like, what the heck was it? So she called her husband. Her husband's like, dude, don't call the sheriff's department. Just give me a shout and I'll be there. She had her husband show up, and they didn't find anything but hair and blood, but they never found no actual body or anything. So I'm pin dropping the area of where these reports are coming in through my messenger. It's forming a circle around town, and where I visualize these dogs path to where the bark just disappears. I start thinking, man, this is a black cat. This is a large black predatory feline that's harassing and just this is what we have in our hands. So I identify it, and that circle that it goes on, man, it's probably about 45 to 50 mile radius. I just have pin drops all around town from that point where the park is at, south, southeast, east, northeast, north, northwest, west, and southwest, and then back south. It was about 50 miles. And so I start researching these large predatory felines. When these dudes go out and hunt, they could travel, if you're going to cover that much time, from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. I mean, that's 12 hours. You could cover that 50 miles, you know. So I'm thinking, I'm going to shoot this black panther. And I'll call a game warden, and there's like, dude, there's no season for that. You could take a shot if it's messing with livestock and everything. You could take it. If you see it, take it. So I got to go ahead. I tell a friend of mine, Sensei, it's Texas, man. We have plenty of lead and everything like that. And so we decide, hey, we're gonna go up there with radios, and I had an AK-47 and a pistol. I had a lot of firepower. and I had a lot of lead. Like, I had a lot of, I think I had like a 60 round drum on my rifle, and like a 30 round drum. So I consult with Sensei. We both conclude, like, hey, you're gonna go up top the ridge where the runoff and pools are, the caves are, and you're gonna make this noise. I'm gonna position myself on the bottom of the creek where I think this cat, gets out of there, and then he flees town through the river bottom. And I'd been hearing this like every day, and that's just what I would think. Like, hey, these dogs are with this cat, and this cat just ain't trying to hear it. So he takes that river bottom and he just books it out of town. Let's get it. And so Sensei and I, we conclude that, and we arm ourselves and we take off, and I position myself on the bottom of the creek, and through a walkie-talkie, I was like, hey, go ahead, man. And I'm positioning myself to where I'm able to deploy my lead in a position to where I'm not harming the people on the balcony at the apartments or the golf the golf course that's next door, the frisbee golfers, or the kids playing on the swings, or anything like that. So I positioned myself to where if and when this cat comes out, I'll be able to shoot it, and the backdrop would be, these caliche walls. This is big walls, like 30-foot walls, and then there's a road that goes through there, and then on the other side of the road is a drop to the river bottom or the creek. So I position myself, and I give Sensei the go ahead, and he starts rolling these boulders down there and just making all kinds of noise. A little bit after that, I start hearing movement through the dry thicket. And around this time, there's nothing green no more, unless it's evergreens, but we don't have that here. This thing's moving through the thicket, through the dry thicket, and I'm thinking to myself, this is a large animal. This is a heavy creature, because it sounded like as if it had weight on it, like a horse or a cow was moving through there, like something big. This thing got wind of me, and it almost went into stealth mode, to where it just seemed like it was slithering. I started taking shape of this. At this point, I was trying to figure out the vitals and where I was going to squeeze off some rounds to where I could either hit it in the head or the heart. As this thing gets closer, it's just beautiful black coat, like just the most well taken care of coat. And it's big. It's big like a 7-8 foot. I don't know how big the doorways are, but like a door, dude. Where you walk through a door, it was like that big, but like it was long ways, because it was like sort of like slither crawling, and it was about chest high. So I thought, there's no way this could be a cat. There was gonna be a clearance in between the trees. As this animal was making its way to where I started seeing it come in my direction. I was trying to figure the vitals and to properly identify this thing coming at me. I knew it was something heavy because of the way it was making noise. It was going to come to a clearance about like 4 or 5 feet to where I was able to shoot. By that time, I had already figured out where the vitals were and everything. So I had my iron sights to the head. But when it came to that clearance, it just presented itself in its full, just, here I am, man. You got me. We just looked at each other. It wasn't snarling at me. It wasn't showing any signs of aggression. I wasn't afraid for my life. We just stared at each other for, I don't know how long, but this thing had real big eyes, like the size of a tennis ball. Pretty eyes. And a real shiny, nice coat. I felt I wasn't going to be able to live with myself if I this thing, because it was too much like ourselves, but it wasn't. And so I just put down the rifle, and I walked one way, and it walked and I walked.
Thank you for everyone who once again stopped by the Fox Den tonight for another episode of Star Fox Radio. If you do enjoy my content and you do like Midnight Lycanthropy, please share, subscribe, and feed the algorithm. Until next time, stay safe out there and be good people.